culture and local wisdom. In the early Ratanakosin period, the characteristics of local Thai wisdom and culture of the early Ratanakosin period were directly inherited from that of Ayutthaya and were also partly influenced by the Chinese culture that came with the increasing numbers of Chinese communities in Siam. From the reign of King Rama I the Great, ancient arts and culture were revived and recreated until they could be classified as the Ratanakosin arts. There were a large number of artworks during the period which were influenced either by the Ayutthaya arts or the foreign arts, especially the Chinese arts. Painting. During the early period of Ratanakosin, most paintings were mural paintings decorated on the walls of and ceilings of the temple's main halls. They were not only used to decorate the place, but also to recite religious tales and stories to stimulate a stronger faith in Buddhism. One example is the illustration of Buddha's lives. Some examples of prominent paintings of this period were paintings in the Puthai Sawan Royal Hall of the Bawon Sathan Mongkon Palace, the Front Palace, and the painting in the main hall of Wat Phra Sri Ratana Satsadaram. In the reign of King Rama III, Thai paintings flourished and were created in a more Chinese style, which was a favorite of the king himself. Some examples of painting influenced by Chinese arts were paintings with the scenery of the sky, trees, and flowers. Some prominent painters during the reign were Luang Vichijetsada, Master Thong Yu, and Luang Seni Barilak, Master Kong or Kong Pet. Some important paintings are those decorated in Wat Phra Chetupon, Vimol Mangkararam, Rachawara Mahavihan, Wat Phra Sri Ratana Satsadaram, Wat Suwarnaram Rachawara Vihan, and Wat Arun Rachawararam. Sculpture. During the reign of King Rama I the Great, there were a small number of sculptures, and most of them were Buddha images and statues. One example is the main Buddha statue placed in the main hall of Wat Mahathat, Yuva Rat Rangsarit, Rachawara Mahavihan in Bangkok. Later in the reign of King Rama II, many new Buddha statues were built, and their features were different from that of the Ayutthaya period, in which they were considered as the standard characteristics of the Ratanakosin arts. The outstanding Buddha statue of this reign was Phra Putthatham Mitsalat Lokathat Dilok, the main Buddha statue placed in the main hall of Wat Arun Rachawararam. One of the important sculptures built during the reign of King Rama III was Paputtati Lokachet, which was the main Buddha statue placed in the main hall of Wat Suthat Thevararam. Architecture. The architectural style of the early Ratanakosin period could be said that it was directly copied from that of the Ayutthaya period. To illustrate this, the Ratanakosin Grand Palace and the Royal Temple situated inside the Royal Palace itself was duplication of the Ayutthaya Royal Palace and its royal temples. The Grand Palace was one of the most outstanding architectural works of this period, like Wat Phra Sri Sanphet of Ayutthaya. Wat Phra Sri Ratana Satsadaram was built as a royal temple situated inside the royal palace. The front palace of Ratanakosin was called the Bawon Sathan Mongkon Palace. The royal palace is called the Grand Palace, and the rear palace was called the Bawon Sathan Pimok Palace. During the reign of King Rama III, there were some changes in the architectural styles of royal castles. The royal residences of the royalties, buildings in the royal palace complex, as well as a sanctuary and a vihara of the royal temples, which were all influenced by the Chinese arts. For example, the features of the gables of an altar, the features of of an ubosot and a vihara became much simpler, decorated with porcelain tile in fauna patterns in a Chinese style. Some parts in ancient Thai architectural styles were eliminated, including Chao Fa, Pai Laka, and Hang Hong. Some examples of architectural works built in the fairy style of the king were Wat Racha Ora Saram, Racha Vora Mahaวิหารวัดเฉลิมพระเกียรติวรวิหาร and วัดกัลยาณมิตรมหาวรวิหาร He also ordered the construction of the metal castle in a Ceylonese style at วัดราชนัดดารามวรวิหารPerforming arts of music. During the early period of Ratanakosin, some of ancient performing arts, including Khon, mask, dance, drama, Lakon, drama, Rabam, dance, Hun, puppet play, and Nang, shadow play, were revived and flourished as they were strongly supported and patronized by the Siamese kings. King Rama I the Great instructed that all royalties from the Grand Palace, the Front Palace, as well as other royal family members and nobles commenced the training of Khon within their places. Moreover, he assigned skillful dancing masters to revise and recreate the dancing patterns. The king himself also wrote several play scripts such as Unnarut, Ramagian, Inau, and Dalang. Later, King Rama II also composed numerous play scripts and rewrote the original versions of some drama plays to be more suitable for performing with newly composed music and beautiful lyrics as well as new dance formats. This led to the development of the royal Lakon with complex and intricate patterns in every aspect. It could be said that the real royal drama, Lakon Nai, was born in his reign. The king himself also composed scripts for 5 Lakon Nok, traditional folk drama, including Sang Thong, Kavi, Mani Pichai, Grai Thong, and Shai Shet. King Rama III also composed a drama script called Sang Sin Chai. Musical instruments of the early Ratanakosin period were very similar to those of Sukhothai and Ayutthaya kingdoms. There were 3 main types of classical ensembles, which were Pi Phat, Mahori, and Krung Sai, strings. Some types of classical instrumental music were called Playing Hom Rong and Playing Na Phat, while music inserted with lyrics was called Playing Khap Rong. Each song of both types of music had a specific origin, which would be performed at different ceremonies for the purposes of conducting a ceremony, playing alongside other performances, or even creating emotional feelings from the audience. Thai language and literature. The use of Thai language and the literary style of this period was still similar to that Ayutthaya period. This was due to the fact that when Bangkok was established as the new capital Siam, people who used to live in the capital cities of Ayutthaya and Thonburi migrated to the new capital and still used the Ayutthayan dialect to communicate with each other. The Jindamani textbook has been used up until the reign of King Chulalongkorn. The Ratanakosin literature had been continuously developed from that of Ayutthaya and Thonburi kingdoms. Types of literature of this period include Klong, Chan, Kap, Glon, novels, narrative scripts, and proverbs. King Rama I the Great ordered the revision of an ancient law called the Three Seal use law. He also ordered the revision of some of the Thai and foreign chronicles, such as the major war chronicles of Mon. In addition, he wrote play scripts of Ramakian, Inau, Dalang, and Unnarut. The king, together with leading poets at that time, co-wrote chronicles such as Nirad of War with Burma at Tha Din Dang, as well as compiled and translated Asian literature into Thai, such as Iran Rajathamma, which was translated from Persian language, Saihan and the Three Kingdoms, which was translated from Chinese, and the Chronicle of Mon, called the Pantawadi Chronicle, that was translated from Mon language. The reign of King Rama II was a peaceful time and the golden age of the Siamese literature. The king was respected as a great composer. He wanted to develop the Siamese literature to be more assertive by written many drama scripts. He wrote the script of Inau as well as that of a traditional folk dramas, which include Sang Thong, Grai Thong, Kavi, Shaya Shade, Mani Pichai, Gab He Rua, Khon, and Sepa Khun Chang Khun Pan. The prominent royal poet of his reign was Sunthorn Phu, who wrote many famous literary works in various forms of poetry, which were Nirad Sepa, poem, proverbial poem, and Bot He. Some of these masterpieces were Phra Aphai Mani, Laksana Wong, Singhagrai Phop. Another prominent poet was Narin Tibet-in, who wrote Nirad Narin. King Rama III, also a strong supporter of poetry, he patronized many poets to create great literary works. He ordered those poets to collect knowledge and ancient textbooks in such areas as poetry, composition, Thai language, Thai traditional medical practice, and medicine, and then to carve them onto stone plates. Those stone plates were hung on pavilions located around the Ubosot of Wat Prachetupon for commoners to use them as a source for self-studying, which would help to preserve ancient knowledge. The works of Somdet Phra Maha Samana Chao, Grom Praya Wachiranana Wara Rosa included Samuttara Khot Kamchan, Sappasit Kamchan, and Rayao of the Mahanipata Jataka, in total of 11 parts. Some other examples of Sunthorn Phu's works were Nilad, Nilad Pukhao Thong, and Nirad Mueang Suphan. During this period, Dr. Bradley founded the first printing house in the kingdom in order to publish Christian teaching books and official announcements. He also published the first fortnightly Thai language newspaper called the Bangkok Recorder. Documentary books were also published in order to provide academic knowledge and to teach moral and ethical lessons to readers.